Welcome to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. I'm Annika Jackson, and I am here with Renee Harris of Made on Skincare. Renee, we've talked about this, and after reviewing all of your amazing materials, I know that there are so many tangents we can go on. So I'm really interested to see where our conversation leads us.
It's always a surprise to me. So where it goes.
But that's the best, having really organic conversations. And I'm just so thrilled to have you on the show. And I'd love for you to share your journey of creating your business and how you got there.
Yeah, it does. It definitely was not the thing I would have said, when I was a little kid. I'm going to grow up and be an entrepreneur. I'm going to grow up and sell lotion. I mean, that was never really. I didn't have any training. I went to school to become a high school public school teacher, so I did that for years. But the skincare line came through. Just my husband and we have a lot of kids, so we'll get to that. But we have 9 kids. At the time, we had 7, just the 2 of us. And so that was a little bit part of the whole story. But he always worked from home, not always, but at the time that our business started, he was working from home for a big tech company. And we saw kind of the handwriting on the wall that there are a lot of layoffs happening. In the meantime, I, for fun, had started a farmer's market booth where I was just selling this handcrafted skincare lotion that I made myself, kind of found a recipe online. It fixed my own skin. So it was kind of one of those problem solution things. And I wanted something different to do. And I had kind of involved my 2 older boys who were 12 and 10 at the time, actually 8 and 10. And so we would show up on Saturdays. And that's when I realized I love selling, which is weird because that's not my personality.
Many people say that.
I think entrepreneurs tend to decide they really like the marketing. At least I do. I don't, not the hardcore marketing, but once you realize that you have something that somebody else needs and it's a solution, it just jazzes you up so much. So we started with that. Then in the meantime, my husband's job was like a lot of layoffs happening. And so within just a few months of doing the farmers market and then deciding to take it online and make it in e-commerce. And this is back in 2009. So it's kind of like there was a recession before that going on. Yeah. We decided, let's go all in, put his job aside, and we're going to go all in on the e-commerce business and sell. Basically, they're called hard lotion bars. So we took the domain hard lotion, which nobody had, we coined that ourselves. Wow. And I'm really glad back then, not having any experience or nothing like that, to have that name, and then it stuck. And so we've been able to carry it on since then. So that was in 2009. And then we turned that into a full-time family income within a couple of years, and got the kids involved. And then the story keeps going. So
oh my gosh, no, that's so amazing. I think that's one of the best ways that businesses come about, though, is you had an issue that you were trying to solve for yourself. Honestly, that's one of the most inspiring stories that you can use in marketing, even because it's true. And you experienced this, you solved it for yourself. And then you realized, if I'm having this problem, other people probably are. And not only that, but your products are natural, or they're organic, they're made out of healthy products.
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird because it was something that I had tried everything. Like I got the dry cracked skin. That was my issue. It was just my hands that would get the splits and the cracks, and my heels from walking barefoot. So that was always my thing. And my mom had the same issue. So we would just swap stories. Did you try this? Did you try that? And I'd have Band-Aids. And it was just like, I've tried it all. And I just figured I'm just meant to have this problem. But I'm healthy otherwise. So it's not the worst thing in the world. But then when to come up with a solution, it was 3 ingredients. And now over the years, it's been something that helps a lot of people who have like eczema and psoriasis, and they don't want to get the steroids. So all of it's helped a lot more people than I even expected, that I didn't even have experience with. So the more I dug in, the more like, well, there's chemical sensitivity issues that people have. I don't have those, but it's become kind of another solution for other problems, which is nice. And it's actually edible. And that was another thing that kind of made it fun at the farmer's market, that I learned that just from without any experience of going to school for that, to market something. I had my kids, we gave out samples. And so these little pieces of, because it's a hard lotion bar, it's not a squirt lotion. And so we have little samples on a platter, and my boys would go around and get people to try the samples. But I told them, don't let them put it in their mouth because they're going to think it's cheese. It looks like cheese. And so we'd have to say it right away. I said, but tell them how it works and tell them, but it's actually, you could be funny and say it's actually edible, but it doesn't taste good. Trust me, I tried it, all this kind of stuff that makes the marketing kind of fun. So
Yeah.
the boys got into that too.
Oh, definitely. And the fact that you have a bar, I mean, that's more convenient to travel with. I know we all
Yes.
like to carry like a lotion in our purse, or if you're getting on a
Yep.
plane, you want to have something because also get that dry skin.
Mhm.
I grew up, now I live in California, but I grew up in Kansas, and I would get the super bad, like
Yep.
super dry skin, have to wear gloves with lotion to bed, the whole
Know
thing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I'm very familiar with like,
And we're in California too. And we're in the dry, we're like way up north and
oh,
it's
yeah.
like desert dry. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Wow. Okay. So then this is right after a recession. You're building up the business. It's catching fire at the farmer's market. You decide at what point to take it online and then keep on growing it through e-commerce.
That was probably only within about 6 months
Wow.
because it was, Saturday mornings. We have to be there every Saturday. I realized with farmers markets, it's a great way to start. It's really good for market research
Mm.
to have to talk to people and explain it
Oh, yeah.
and see how they react. It was so good. And then to say, well, are women buying it more than men? Yes, because women tend to be the person, even if it's for their spouse, it will usually be the woman that buys the skincare products. And so but then we didn't want to make it only for women. We didn't want to make it too like a foofy fun thing. It's like, no, this is a hardworking product. Like I wanted to brand it. So I would say that all that market research time was so good, but it also meant that we had to be up at 5 or 6 in the morning and show up. And if you miss a Saturday, people then kind of give up on thinking you might or may not be there the following. So it's
Yeah.
just so much to learn about the farmers market that I thought, well, let's take it online. My husband had the tech experience. We could just put up a store. And the funny thing about that was you think you can just stick a website up and expect people to come, but no. So the part that back then, especially, and it still works today, but not nearly as well as back then, mom bloggers were on the scene in
Oh, yeah.
2000. And so there were so many mom bloggers out there making money. And so I just started reaching out to a few of them. And especially if they happened to talk in a post about skin issues, I would just reach out and say, hey, I have this product. We have a whole affiliate program set up. Can I send you some to try out? There's no pressure.
Mm.
I would rather that it comes from your heart if it works for you than you trying to make a buck off of it. So I would send it out to different bloggers. And that's what really started to have the money coming in. So I remember I think it was the first month we started to see like a $4,000 a month come in, of sales. To me, it was huge after farmers market sales. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, we just have to keep doing this again and again and again. And now we can take it online. So it wasn't as easy as that. It sounds really easy, but it was in a way, it's what jump started us to
Mhm.
figure out that, okay, there is a way to sell online. You just have to have all the little moving parts put together and have it all set up. So
You're such a perfect brand case study because you found a problem that needed to be solved. You did market research at the farmer's market, and then you put it online, and then you found influencers who are also, evangelists,
mhm.
who are also content creators, journalists. I mean, those mom bloggers covered a lot of different categories of people that can help propel your business.
And it's back then, it wasn't really a thing. It's not like I can go take a course that told me to go
No.
to influencers. Now, yeah.
Yeah, and
But
now there are lots of websites where you can find
yeah,
influencers and things like that,
you
but
can
no,
go to
you had to,
TikTok
like,
or
do it all
yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's partly, I think too, it's like it was like our whole income depended on it. I mean, we had 7 kids. We had to make it work. It was either that or where we live, we're kind of in a rural area, but we're still like 3 hours from the Bay Area.
Oh,
So if my husband was to go back into the tech field, we'd have to move closer to the Bay Area. It's just like all the things that we didn't want to do because we loved our lifestyle. We just decided we're just going to go all out and work it and make it work. So yeah, but we were at the library. I mean, back then too, we didn't have podcasts to listen to. I think
no.
they were just coming on the scene, but at least that I was aware of. So we were just like Seth Godin's books. We just consumed so many books at the library, but it was really a lot of it was just self-taught. I'm glad for that now. I mean, looking back, I'm glad that we had to learn that way so we can test things out. We didn't have money to just throw into it and invest. So it's not like we got seed money or anything or anybody loaning us money. So it was really like, we have to figure this out and make it work. But I'm looking back, it was super hard, but I'm really grateful that we did it that way.
Wonderful. And then what about your manufacturing? Because I imagine at first you were making it all and then you got to scale where you're like, you're handling every other part of the business. So how did you, have to start working on your manufacturing?
Yeah, well, that part we tried different things along the way. But again, we have kids. So we did everything from home except for a couple other products. Like I learned how to make soap and ended up having like a whole goat milk soap line, but I don't enjoy it and it's like not my thing. So that some of it I've outsourced and that's one of them. And then everything else we still actually do. So,
Oh,
but we had for a time outsourced those things too. So we had outsourced to different people and we tried to keep it as local as possible. So I would hire like another mom and I would just bring things over and she would do it. And she had the whole setup. And so I did it that way for a while.
mm,
But sometimes it's so hard when you're dependent on somebody else's schedule or you're dependent on somebody, even though it's like a contractor. And so as our older kids got older, they can take on different responsibilities. We pretty much still tended to make the things ourselves between my husband. He tends to do a lot of it actually. But then we would have the kids do like the meals at home. They would cook. So I don't cook that often. My kids do it. So they learn all these other skills. And then so a lot of it is still done now. We had to move into a larger space. So we
Mm,
had to do all of that, but we wanted to keep it this way where we're still at home. We're still raising the kids at home. We homeschool them too. We've done that the whole time, even before COVID.
oh,
So
wow.
all of that became part of the whole play. And then they can do some of the packaging. So they're earning money. All of our kids, so we only have 4 in the home now. We have a total of 9. 5 of them who have moved out all have their own businesses, not doing what we
Gosh.
do, but they saw the process. They saw how we did things. And as we homeschooled them, we said, you guys are going to get really good at something. You figure out what it is, and we're going to here to support you. We're going to coach you. We're going to give you help you find the resources because we're not gifted in everything. And you guys are going to get really good at stuff. And then that way, by the time you leave the home, you have a way to make money. And that's how it's happened with the 5 that are out of the house. No one went on. They all decided they didn't need to go to school. So they didn't go on to college and get degrees for what they were doing. And they're all running their own businesses.
Mm, wow. And you gave them that freedom to teach them, but then let them really realize what they're passionate about themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Really
that's
important.
the whole way we have a website on that now, Parent Their Passion.
Mm,
And that's exactly teaching parents to do that. So no matter what, when you start kids at like age 12,
yeah.
it's like the sweet spot because they're starting to, and I remember that when I was 12, it's like you want to be known for something,
Mm,
not popular, but you kind of want to be good at, I should say, good at something. And if you aren't, you just feel like oh, you're just like everybody else. And I never really found that thing, but when I see it in my kids, their self-esteem goes up because they are something about them will set them apart from other people. So in our family, we have like our oldest, he became a drone operator and he
oh,
started doing real estate drone work for the real estate agents. And now he is more of a contractor where he manages a bunch of different
mm,
businesses doing that. And he doesn't have to be out on the field all the time unless he wants to be. And then I had a bladesmith. We let him like have his own forge in the garage making his, and he sold tons of knives
wow.
on Instagram because we said, use social media and we taught him how to use it. And anything that I would take a course on, if it applied to one of the kids, they would take the same course. So they would learn the same type of stuff that we're learning. So they're watching us play this out and then they're practicing. And it's a safe place for them to do it while they're still under our roof. So it's not like they're dependent on paying the bills yet. So by
Right.
the time they're 16, they're making money. And then by the time they're 18, they're already full blown on their own and they can,
Gosh.
live on their own that way. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. So, and then you branched into other products. You mentioned you started doing a line of soaps, and then
Mhm.
did you do other lotion bars as well? And what other products do you have now in your portfolio?
That was kind of crazy. So way back at the farmer's market, I realized like this 3-ingredient lotion bar made a great lip balm, but then it needed to go in the
Mm,
little tube. So I had to go like, how do you get the lip balm in the tube? So I figured that out. And then I was part of different soap forums and skincare stuff. So What I just discovered was you just tweak a couple things and then you have a whole new product. So at the farmer's market, we did the lotion bars and then we did the lip balms. And then we were out on an evening and the mosquitoes were coming. I was like, okay, I know there's a whole thing about essential oils and repelling the mosquitoes. So then we did a bug block. So we had that. That was like our third. So when we were doing the farmer's market, it was just those three and that's it. Part of me wishes I would have just kept it just that's it. But then, I had a baby along the way and I was, changing the diaper and I'm realizing Desitin's like main ingredient is zinc oxide. And so it's like 17% zinc oxide. I'm like, oh, zinc oxide, that's like super healthy and it's used for so many things. Well, what happens if I take that zinc oxide and I put it in the coconut oil and the beeswax that I was already using the lotion, making lotion with, and then blend that in and just make it the consistency of a cream? I had a rash cream. So that just completely created another whole nother product.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend who had adopted some kids from Ethiopia. And she's like, I need to figure out how do I do their hair? And so I said, well, let me experiment with you. So she and I kind of came up with just another same ingredients, but we would adjust the ratios and then we would add maybe one more ingredient in. And then it made like a really good hair butter. And now my husband uses it all the time. It's like his main styling agent. And so we had a hair butter was another one. And then people would want like a scented lotion bar, but they didn't want fragrance. They wanted essential oils. So we would just make all these different scents. And then I had my lip balm, the 3-ingredient lip balm. It's like, well, what happens if you put a iron oxide, which is a colorant that companies put in lipsticks and so on. It's a natural mineral. What happens if you put that in there? Can you make a color? So we came up with, and that's a 4-ingredient thing that we can make a lip balm that gives you color in your, it's almost a lipstick, but not quite because it's not as bright. But anyway, we have 3 different colors of lip balms now. So just like it kept kind of growing that way. And I've kind of kept like trying to bring it back. But and then we had like somebody who said, well, you have lotion bars. Can you do the same thing with shampoo and make it a shampoo bar?
Oh.
And again, I don't do soap. Like I don't really want to make soap, but I found somebody that does. So I have somebody else make our shampoo bars, a great thing for travel again. So, and it's what I use too. It's super easy to use. So it was just kind of developing like that. So I'm at that point where like, okay, no more products.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I imagine that nowadays we're seeing more people really wanting to find more natural products. So has that helped? I know you were already getting booming sales. You'd already found your market, but has that pushed you forward even more?
I think so. I feel like I've kind of been in that niche the whole time. So
Yeah.
whether it's more or not, sometimes people are like, well, I want to be, they're more about like the low, like the waste part of it. Like they want, so we do refill bars. So you have your tin that you buy your original lotion in, and then if you want refills, you can come back and just buy the refills.
Oh.
So it's like, so you have like this whole zero waste thing. There's some people that want like the plastic free, which we're not 100% plastic free, but for some of our products we are. So there's probably been a bigger push for that, and I probably could push that one. It's just a lot of things to have to deal with if you were to do, cardboard lip balms and stuff like that. So I'm not ready to go that direction, but at least we're pleasing a population with some of the products that we have.
Yes.
So, but the whole all natural thing, yeah. And I think for a long time, and you're seeing more and more products come out that they'll say, well, our ingredients are edible. And that was kind of like, yeah, we said that a long time ago too. So I'm kind of glad people are starting to catch up to that.
You're way ahead of the
Yeah.
curve. Yeah, everybody else is catching up to you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what continues to inspire and motivate you?
Well, part of it sometimes it's just like getting feedback from the customers and just hearing from customers. And there are like little apps that I really enjoy. And I think what I missed about the farmers market is that one-on-one interaction. You don't get to have that face-to-face contact and find out exactly what people say, but we do have like reviews. We have people can leave their reviews. So we've got tons of reviews, but to have that one-on-one. So there's an app that I really like, Bonjoro, it's called, and you can leave like these videos for your customers.
Oh,
So
nice.
I will every now and then when I have time, I'll just pop that on and I will just go through and just think. It just takes me like 30 seconds to pop a video, send it to them. It's easy for them to see and open. It's not like I have to attach anything. It's all part of the whole platform. And so I'll just say, hey, it's Renee from Made On. I just want to say thank you for placing your order. And I love that because people just sometimes they'll do a video back to me, which is really fun. And then I can use that for social media if I want, or whatever they're okay with. But it's nice because then I feel like I've got that connection. So I think the motivation part is connecting with the customers has always been there. Like that's been probably the one thing that I love. And then the second is just seeing the kids, my own kids kind of grow into either just helping us because I'm like, so I get things off my plate because my one son can do video editing and I just send it to him and say, okay, this has to be 30 seconds, make it happen. And then he comes back with something. So that's the other part that just like, I love the fact that we can employ our own kids
Yeah.
and I get it how I want it because I'm the mom. So,
That's wonderful. So one of the things that you said is you never thought you'd be an entrepreneur. You were a teacher, but then you realized that you were good at sales and you enjoyed it and you enjoyed the process. What are some other surprising things that you learned about when you became an entrepreneur and along this journey?
um, I think over the years, I think one big thing has been to trust my intuition.
Mm,
Which again is where I'm so glad that I had to figure things out on my own without just, there are times when I wake up, I'm like, I wish I could just be an employee and be told what to do today. Cause I'm just like, to make the sales come in or to pay the bills or whatever, it's like, it's on me. That pressure is pretty big. But at the same time, the creativity is so huge too, that to be your own boss and decide how you want to spend your time. So I think part of it that surprised me is just the fact that at the end of the day, that we have intuition, that we know, and sometimes we second guess ourselves, and I might go in a couple different directions and then regret it later. But instead of seeing that as like a total failure or a waste of time, it just grew me a little bit more. Like, okay, so maybe that didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen, but what can I learn from this? And so I think that whole lesson, having that be repeated over and over again is good. It's been, instead of being like frustrated by it or you just want to throw in the towel, I feel like no, it's good. It's like you can keep going with it. And again, I think because I see my kids, when I see them get discouraged about, I want to say like it's going to be okay though. Just you just have to push through, or you just wait a week or something. You're going to see results, and it's nice to be able to see that you can just keep going or pivot if you have to, of course.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's been part of the fun part of the journey too.
Those are amazing lessons for our kids too, to be able to see that and say, and to show them it's not always going to turn out the way that I thought it was going to, but it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's because that's a lesson I think we learn over and over again. And it's one of the, as much as parents, we can tell our kids things as much as we want, but until
Right.
they actually experience it or see it
Yeah.
firsthand, that is where the light bulb moment comes.
And it's nice to have that opportunity while they're still at home.
Yeah.
Like you don't want them to have to figure things out when they're 30 or something. Just like, okay, it's so good to have that safe place to practice and experiment and get advice from siblings or parents or friends or whatever. And then know, okay, I've got some skill sets of this might be hard, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. And we'll see the results of it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier that I'd love to talk about as well is your passion for the way that you've been able to teach your kids about entrepreneurship and finding their passion. And now you offer that as a resource for other parents and
mhm.
caregivers. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us more about
Yeah.
that.
So that again happened out of like necessity. So, we had kids and then we had to work in a different kind of budget. We had to figure out how we're paying the bills from the money we make in our own business. So we need to know what can we cut out. Like
Yeah.
with our kids, it could be activities, it could be this and that. So we weren't really driven by throwing our kids in a lot of different activities anyway. So that kind of helped that we didn't have to have a whole mindset shift, but we used the things that they were already interested in and roped them in if it worked for the business.
Mm.
So for example, my oldest son, who we were doing our business, but he was always a little bit interested in photography. He would just
Mm.
take pictures, and a relative gave him a camera, so he would just take pictures, or he would get his friends outside. The neighbor kids would be doing like these little videos, and he'd put them together. And so we just discovered that, like, okay, he was around 11 or 12 at the time, and I needed product shots for our products, and I didn't have them. I just didn't want to spend money to pay a photographer to take the product shots. Yeah, I kept feeling like, I have a camera, we can do this at home. Can't we do this?
Mhm.
And so we allowed him to figure that out, and he was happy to do it for us. Like, it was a thing that I needed him. So he went, and we said, okay, there's a thing called a light box, and we're going to get that, and you go to the camera store. So when he went to the camera store and he told the camera guy what he was looking for and for lights and so on, the guy gave him a whole tutorial. So here's
Nice.
like a old, 12 13 year old, and he's getting a whole tutorial. So he's coming home and then practicing, and he got good enough at it. So what we've noticed then, and then we just kept developing this, we just thought, maybe we're onto something, that he might like to do this more. And he's the one that eventually became the drone operator, but he had this just little interest. So what we tell parents is, like, whatever you're having your kids do or what their interests are, start to develop that. Don't give up so fast on, like, oh, today it's karate, tomorrow it's soccer, and then after that it's, jumping out of airplanes. I don't know. But it's try to find the thing that's going to kind of keep them interested, and then give them the resources and allow them to use that. So the main thing that we tell parents is, find something that, as they're getting better at it, they're not like, don't give them too much fake, like, yeah, you're so good at this. But instead just say, hey, let's see if you can get good enough to do this with it, and then see if they can bring value to somebody. And sometimes it's just your own family. So one of my daughters is an amazing artist, and that developed over time. So I knew I could count on her to, like, if we're having company come over, and maybe it's like a little dinner party and the people don't know each other, but she could put like little name cards on the table and
Oh,
make it artistic, things like that.
yeah.
Then at a young age, they feel like important because they're bringing value. And like, one of my kids is in the music. I was like, okay, we need a playlist for some people that are coming, but they won't like your rap music. We're going to be more into 80s. What can you put together for us? So stuff like that. So they're not just thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
They're turning it outward and coming up with a way to use what they love doing, but then please somebody else. So it's kind of like making your kids become producers instead of consumers, because they're just going to be on their computers and whatever, and gaming all day long, or they just want to grow up to be a YouTuber or whatever. But then even those YouTubers started somewhere.
Right.
They're entertaining, they're doing something right. They figured out a way to make other people happy. So even with that, like my son that was into Minecraft, we said, okay, you can play Minecraft. However, we want you to figure out a way that makes it a better experience for the other players.
Mm.
And in the beginning, it's just like little things like, you can make these skins, I think they're called. And then after that, he's my coder. He's 20, almost 21 now. And I can say, I've got an issue with Shopify. Can you figure it out? And he will have it fixed like within an hour. But it was back then, I could have just let him consume gaming all day long, and just like, get out of my hair, just go play your game. That's fine. I got stuff to do. But instead it's like, okay, you want to do your game time? I need you to learn something first about it, or just make it an educational thing in one way or another. So that's been kind of the process of finding those interests, and then finding ways to bring value to other people, and then using resources and tools that every family has and don't realize they have under their own roof, and then merging those, and then eventually they can make money off it. So it's a process, but I mean, I have parents who have kids between like ages of 12 and 16, you can do a ton before they're 18, and they could probably make a full-time income from it.
Amazing. Yeah. And you have a whole course on this on your other
Yeah.
website, right?
Yep.
Parent Their Passion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we actually take the teens, my husband and I have like little short video clips where we take the teens through a workshop, and they can do it if they're really motivated, they'll get it done in less than an hour, to find those interests that they can actually keep moving with it and bring value. So it's kind of like starting with those interests, and kids will pivot, and that's totally part of the process. They can pivot over time, but to first start with something that they can identify and start working with, and then we show them ways to merge with other things so that they're actually going to turn around and produce something out of it.
Yeah.
So,
Wonderful. My gosh. And of course, we'll have all of this in the show notes so that all of our listeners can find you, learn more about your products and services, and also find out how to help their children um, to parent to their passions.
yes.
Yeah.
So it is so much fun. I mean, it's always work, but it's so worth it. And the relationship that you build with your kids by the time they are young adults, they will continually come back. They see you almost like as a coach instead of just a parent. So
Yeah.
it's fun. Yeah.
It's really beautiful because it's just another way to relate to our kids. And I know in this day and age, we relate to them so much. I relate to my daughter much differently than my parents related to me,
Mhm.
and I think we're more involved in some ways because in a
Yes.
world where there's so much going on all the time and so much access to outside information, that
Yeah.
relationship, it's really important to hold that close and to be able to be there for each other and form
Yes.
other ways to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So what is next for you and both of your brands and your family?
Yeah. Well, we're slowly having kids moving out. So now it feels like, oh, are we? I mean, my youngest is 6, so I still have a ways. I do have a ways. But we, 5 kids are out. We have another one probably leaving like in a year from now. He's starting to graduate soon. So I really, where my passion is that parent their passion business. Like I feel like that could be, I could do that till the day I die, because I just talking to parents and talking to kids and kind of coming up with those unique and special things that they can do. That's where we really want that to go.
Mhm.
And then I tease, we have 6 boys and I keep teasing them like, can you guys just one of you marry a girl that wants to take over the lotion business? Because that'd be ideal. It can stay in the family, unless my younger daughter, who's 10, she might decide to, but at least that's my passion, is that we can develop. It's a whole different thing. It's not e-commerce. So, there's a whole, I feel like my brain is constantly going and learning new things because it's digital. It's not a physical product, but then at the same time, it's like, wow, I don't have to ship things. This is awesome. So it's different.
Yeah. And what are the easiest ways for people to follow you on social media and see all the great things that you're posting?
Yeah, the easiest we with the hardlotion.com is our website. And we actually have, like, if people have that dry skin thing, we have you can get a free sample, just pay shipping. If you go to hardlotion.com/freebie, then there's a landing page where you can get either like a lip balm or a lotion bar to try out. So that's the easiest way to find the product itself. But it's hardlotion.com. Mine is renee@hardlotion.com for email, and then Instagram, Facebook, it's all at hardlotion. And then for Parent Their Passion, same thing. It's everything at Parent Their Passion. So
Okay, perfect. And do you have a favorite quote or a mantra or a verse that you live by?
yeah, I would say to get out of your own way. Sometimes I learned that from another business coach that was like, we stop ourselves from moving forward so much. And I'm the type that will start something and then I come, which is part of the problem with having so many different physical products. It's like, oh, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then sometimes it's also our mindset that like stops you from just moving forward, because I might stop and say, well, it's not perfect yet. It's not ideal. I just want to add this one more thing. And then I just created a huge mess because it's so complicated. And it was kind of came out of my brain onto this website, but then somebody else visiting for the first time can't read my mind. So it's like that whole get out of your own way and just don't let your own fears or challenges, or you just sometimes don't feel courageous enough, just all those things that we can get into our own way with. But just I think it's more of a mindset, just helping people and seeing if what you can give them moves the needle for them, then just keep doing that. So
Yeah, wonderful. And Renee, is there any last words that you want to share with our audience today?
well, I think, we started our first business in a recession, and just knowing that people are struggling now, and even the Parent Their Passion, we tried to like really have that take off like 5 or 6 years ago. So we documented everything our kids were doing,
Mm,
and but we didn't have that proof yet. We're like, yeah, this is do what we did, and you're gonna have really successful kids, but we didn't have that proof. So we kind of had to like keep doing it, keep documenting, keep doing videos. They were blogging, all of that stuff. But it's nice to know now that we're using it now. We have access to all of this stuff that we had kind of put all along the way. So I just feel like with people that have ideas, that yes, it's going to take work, but don't let the fact that we're heading toward a recession, things are getting more expensive or whatever. Don't let that necessarily stop you, because there are also a lot of places going out of business,
Mm.
and it might like give you more room in the market to get your stuff out there and to brand yourself the way that you want to brand yourself and get like really niche down or whatever it is. There's like actually a lot of room for that. So there's a lot of fear that might go into, oh my goodness, I can't start a business right now. But at the same time, this might be a really good time to move forward with it.
Mhm. Yeah, to go all in on yourself, just like you did. Wonderful. Well, this has been so inspiring, and I just love what you're doing. I love that you really took us through the marketing and branding life cycle of like, as I
Oh,
mentioned
good.
earlier, finding a finding a problem, coming up with a solution, test marketing, doing market research, and then realizing, oh, we can't just put this online. We actually have to do more to reach out to people, finding the right audience to help promote the products and try them, who would then spread the word for you. And then continuing to build up all these skills of people, everything that we need as business owners, somebody to do social media, somebody to do video, photography, all of those different things. And then you had people at your ready, like in your house, who
Yeah.
were interested in these. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And then they were able to build up their skills and then start their own businesses. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
very fun. So I'm glad, I think we covered it all there.
Awesome.
Where it was going, but it went.
Yes, no, it was amazing. And I can't wait to have you on the other podcast as well to talk more about your kids and get into that side and finances and credit and all of those fun issues that we do on the Giving Credit podcast.
That
But
sounds great.
today, thank you to our audience for coming back for another week of Your Brand Amplified. I'm Annika Jackson, and I'll be back again next week with another fabulous guest.